Hey all, this is Theron, or Amnest Quadruple 4, and I'm gonna try something new. I'm gonna go to Equestria Daily, and maybe if I ever get popular, any stories that you send in to me I would lovingly read. And we're gonna try to read some fan fiction. So, let's do it. On today's episode, we're going to be reading excerpts from Swayback Mountain by Buttersk Zero Sunday. Swayback Mountain, starring Applejack and Rarity. Rarity's my favorite one, by the way. Are you Are you sure you really need all that stuff, Rarity? Applejack looked over the bulging saddlebags that the unicorn pony was carrying with difficulty up the sloping mountain path. We ain't going to one of them, fashion shows, Of course I know that, darling. Rarity was short of breath, and she kept shifting the saddlebags so they would sit more balanced on her back. But, when you said you were planning to go out to the Swayback Mountains, I just had to come with you. You see, frowned Applejack, I just don't get why you need to travel so far to collect berries. There's a whole forest of berries right next to Ponyville. But that's better. The saddlebags, which had been threatening to pull Rarity over, were finally sitting correctly. But darling, I already explained, I don't need any old common berries. I need special berries that only grow in the Swayback Mountains. They're the only berries in all of Equestria whose juice is as perfect as yours. I just need that color dye for my latest range of accessories. Not that a pony is... She looked at Applejack up and down critically. Close to the earth as you are, my dear, would understand that. I understand plenty, little miss. Everything has to be perfect. Applejack shook her head. I never should have told you I was going to compete in the rodeo in Cold Springs, and that the Swayback Mountains was right on my way. Rarity sniffed. Well, seeing as how we're already climbing these beastly mountains, I suggest that we just make the best of a bad situation. She broke into a trot and passed Applejack, who snorted in frustration. That indigo-maned unicorn pony was just as much as a barrel of Paris brats. Applejack was about to catch up with her when she heard a low rumble from behind them. She turned and saw a rank of black clouds being pushed into position by a squad of Pegasus ponies. She groaned and hit her head with her hoof. Now how in tarnation did I forget that there was a thunderstorm planned for tonight? She broke into a trot, then a gallop, and as she sped past Rarity, who was already huffing from the thinner air of the mountains, she cried, You better put your running horseshoe on, little missy. There's a storm a brewing, and it's coming right for us. Rarity looked back and cried out, Eep! She broke into a gallop as well, and was soon next to Applejack. I just would have to have forgotten my raincoat, she complained, and now with all this galloping, I'm getting absolutely coated in dust and perspiration. You sure are sweating like a prize pig, Applejack laughed. Rarity said nothing and merely turned her nose up in disgust at such a vulgar comparison. Well, I like it so far. I could see how this could be interesting, but I'm not really feeling it yet. Oh, here we go. To the south, in the skies over Ponyville, Rainbow Dash groaned in frustration. The Pegasus ponies were all pushing the dark clouds in the completely wrong directions, and things were getting out of hand. Clouds crashed against clouds, lightning flashed, thunder roared, and rain started soaking exactly the wrong parts of the countryside. That did to do, Dash muttered. This is the last time I let her organize a downpour. She jetted off to the area where Ditsy-Doo and several of the less experienced Pegasus ponies were mashing together the smaller storm clouds, piling up into a gigantic thunderhead. But Dash was too late to prevent disaster. It flashed with a sudden eye-shattering streak of errant lightning, and the thunder that had followed rolled over the landscape like a shockwave. Well, it's been 5 minutes, and I don't hate it. Some ditsy-do action in here. The rain started to fall. Softly at first, in brief squalls that passed as swiftly as they came. The thunderstorm was still far off, but Applejack knew that it was going to be a huge one. Just what do those Pegasus ponies think they're doing? Applejack thought to herself, shaking her head in disbelief. They're just big old show-offs. And speaking of show-offs, she turned back to where Rarity was struggling to keep up with her. The unicorn pony's saddlebags were slowing her down, and her mane was wet with sweat as well as rain. Come on, princess, said Applejack. At this rate, we ain't gonna reach the river by nightfall, and I sure as apples don't want to camp where there's liable to be a landslide. Just, Rarity panted, redoubling her efforts. Let me catch my breath. A moment, Applejack groaned, but she stopped to let Rarity catch up. As soon as we're over the rise, it'll be all downhill. Rarity nodded, throwing a foreleg over Applejack's shoulders. Oh, leaning against the earth pony, she gasped for air. It may be that I did pack a few too many items. Applejack looked at the bulging saddlebags. Just what did you pack? We're only going to be away for 3 days tops. Well, said Rarity, her face no longer as flushed as before. There's 3 days worth of outfits, of course, and each outfit naturally needs a small selection of accessories to go with it so that I'm ready for any kind of situation. And then there's my makeup box, and since I have no idea what kind of lighting to expect in Cold Springs, I simply had to bring all of my foundation so as not to be caught out. You see, Applejack, Rarity raised her nose into the air and her face grew haughty. Not every pony can be as reckless and fly by the seat of your saddle as you are, my dear. I must be ready for every eventuality, or else I should look ridiculous in front of every pony. In fashion, death is quite simply the most dire of fates. She tossed her mane in emphasis. Applejack rolled her eyes in irritation. I can think of a dozen worse things than looking on the foal in front of others. Being struck by lightning, or being swept away by a raging torrent being foremost in my mind at the moment. She gestured towards the approaching black thunderhead and the blue haze of torrential rain that beneath it was sweeping across the landscape towards them. Now let's get going. Alright, so I'm gonna wrap this up because you can read it the rest on yourself. And you know, as much as I have a giraffe neck, I think I'm just gonna chill out on this one. I'm better at the steamier ones. But you know, that's good for me, right? I like steamy things. So next time fuck it, no. Next time I'm gonna do something about Rarity maybe. There's some affinity I guess I have with Rarity. Applejack's voices maybe. Probably because they're the easiest to do, but maybe it's just me that thinks that. So you're gonna get to see the best sides of all of my acting personality skills. And yeah. So I'm just gonna start reading from dialogue.